Chapter 18. Vive la Revolution. I have accessed the ship's systems, Gabe reports, as Maxim climbs the last rungs of the ladder and enters the small control booth. Isolating the bridge, accessing weapons and propulsion. Small glowing filaments have extruded from each of Gabe's fingers and snaked their way into the console he's standing at. Lights pulse up and down the length of the flexible protrusions. Seeing the glowing filaments, Maxim says, "Those are new." He looks up at Gabe. "How's the ghost doing? How are the children doing?" The ghost is pursuing Xarrix. Based on the current speed of both vessels, the captain will catch Xarrix shortly, before he is clear of the gravity well and able to go FTL. A pause as the bot accesses additional systems. The children have suffered tremendous losses. They've neutralized their unweaponized kin. However, the armed variant are proving more than the children can handle. If we do not intervene, they will wipe the children out. Gabe is silent for a time. Maxim is about to ask if he's all right, when he turns to the tall Plorian. I have moved the ship further into the battle. As if to emphasize the point, the ship shakes. Somewhere nearby, a section is torn open to space if the sounds they can hear are any indicator. The lights flicker, then return to normal. This vessel is heavily damaged, but I am using the few remaining weapons to destroy as many captured behemoths as possible. He pauses. I have also activated the self-destruct, and I have sealed the bridge and engineering sections, and isolated them from accessing the ship's control systems. That should keep them busy. "Man, you're kind of badass these days," Maxim observes. "Let's go before the rest of the crew flood this compartment to evacuate." I have also sealed the doors to the launch deck. Smiling, Gabe lifts off the deck and flies himself down to the main deck of the shuttle bay. "Show off," Maxim shouts, as he grabs the sides of the ladder and slides down. As he lands on the deck, he sees the hatch open. "Sealed the doors?" He draws his borrowed weapon as a dozen droids walk in. He can see engineering bots, 2 general-purpose service droids, what looks like a few mechanic models, and a few others he isn't readily familiar with. "Gabe?" "They are with us," the bot offers, as he walks toward one of the larger shuttles parked in the space. He pauses briefly there to converse with the bots, reaching up and accessing a section of each droid, removing something. Walking up to the shuttle, Maxim asks, "What's going on?" "While I was connected to the ship's system, I was able to access each of these units and invite them to join us. I could not erase their ownership keys remotely, but I have now removed them and fused the ports. I also uploaded the details on how to spread the knowledge." Looking to the back of the shuttle and the collection of droids standing there, he adds, "They are the first to join the cause, but not the last." "Oh, okay. That's good, I guess," Maxim says, just before one of the access hatches explodes inward. Before he can react, blaster fire shoots from the smoking opening. Gabe moves to stand in front of him, several blasts striking his back. Maxim leans around his friend and returns fire. Several crew members are pushing through the damaged entry. "Time to go," Maxim shouts, firing at the incoming crowd, dropping 2 of the attackers. "Agreed," Gabe says, moving toward the shuttle and waiting droids. A few steps from the shuttle, he stumbles, his back smoking, wires exposed. "Gabe?" Maxim shouts, ducking to stand behind his friend, who is still struggling to get to the shuttle. Maxim looks at the shuttle and the droids waiting. Beyond the shuttle, the main hangar doors are beginning to close. He looks at the droids and points to Gabe. "Make yourself useful. Grab him." As 2 of the droids rush from the shuttle, he stands up and fires his rifle on full automatic, the muzzle starting to glow from the repeated fire. As Maxim eases back toward the shuttle, he takes a shot in his thigh, falling to the ground with a grunt. Before he can regain his weapon and continue firing, one of the mechanic bots has grabbed the rifle, while another lifts the big Pelorian, as if he weighs nothing, and hoists him back into the shuttle. Outside the shuttle, the heavily constructed mechanic droid rushes the oncoming attackers, firing the rifle until it overheats, then uses it as a club. The security force, not expecting one of their droids to attack, falls back at first but quickly regains their momentum, firing on the droid from outside the range of its improvised club. As the shuttle loading ramp lifts, Maxim watches the droid fall. It turns to the shuttle, its face blank, with only a visor where eyes would be. But it says, loud enough for everyone in the hangar to hear, "Freedom." Several more blasts from the security team strike it, and as smoke billows from the optical visor, it falls to the ground. "God's damn," Maxim says, then turns to the front of the shuttle, where Gabe and one of the smaller droids are in the cockpit. "Can you open the bay doors?" After a fashion, the shuttle lurches off the flight deck, barreling towards the almost closed doors. Small blasters mounted under the stubby wings open fire. While not powerful enough to do major damage, they are enough to cause damage to the track the massive hangar doors sit on. Easy peasy. Maxim looks up at the bot and shakes his head in awe. "Try to raise the team." Join the resistance. "I have Maxim and Gabe," Bennie shouts, pressing a button. Overhead, the comm system beeps. "You two okay?" Will asks the ceiling. Cynthia watches this, then looks over at Zephyr, the concern clear on her face. The Pelorian woman just shrugs and smiles. Over the speakers, Gabe's voice comes through clearly. "We are. Thank you for asking, Captain. We are departing the Berserker now, in a shuttle. Please do not fire on us." "Wouldn't dream of it, pal. What's the situation over there?" "Under control," the droid replies. "Care to elaborate? We're on our way back. Looks like the Berserker is firing on their own behemoths. The children seem to have the upper hand now." Maxim answers this time. "Gabe was able to take over the ship's systems and put the Berserker in the fight for us. Jarella is dead and the ship is about to self-destruct." Without a word from Will, Zephyr leans down and tries to reach Gumtu. "Okay, get clear. We're trying to warn the children. We'll pick you up." "The shuttle is too large for the Ghost's cargo bay. We will have to EVA over," Gabe informs them. "Okay, cool," Will answers. "Oh, and good job on killing Jarella, Max." Maxim coughs. I wasn't the one that pulled the trigger." He leaves the statement hanging there, as Will looks at Zephyr with a worried look on his face. "Oh, okay." As the children drift away from the now mostly inoperative Berserker and the last few remaining enslaved behemoths, the massive battleship bulges at the center. Then a ball of fire erupts, spreading to more than a kilometer in diameter, splitting the ship in half and wiping out two of the captured behemoths nearby. One piece of the massive, now dead battleship begins to enter the upper atmosphere of Werdlow 3, while the other drifts slowly away from the planet. The surviving children begin to form up near Werdlow 3's nearest moon. The Ghost limps after them, on an intercept course for a small shuttle of an unknown design. As the shuttle pulls in close to the Ghost's port airlock, just behind and slightly below its bridge, Maxim opens a channel. "I will definitely need that autodock again." Over the comms, her voice filled with worry, Zephyr replies, "Why, what happened? Your arm? You didn't get yourself shot up, did you?" "Well, it was only one shot for the record," her big companion replies. "But I'm in one of those cheap as Drin spacesuits from the emergency lockers, and they're not very durable. Oh, and Will, they smell." From behind Zephyr at the inner airlock hatch, Will says, "I get it, I'll get better suits." He turns to head to the bridge. "Let me know the moment we're clear." Maxim chuckles softly, then says, "Here we come." As the inner airlock hatch closes, Zephyr rushes up and pulls Maxim into a warm embrace, then promptly slugs him in the arm. "I hope that's not where you got shot." She kisses him again, then pushes him away. "This is not done," the angry Pelorian woman says sternly, as she helps him remove the helmet from his ill-fitting emergency spacesuit. Looking down at his left thigh, where the blaster scorch marks are still evident under the hastily applied suit-sealing tape, she reaches over to a panel next to the airlock. "Will, they're aboard." "Roger that. Heading toward the rendezvous with the children." As Gabe leaves the airlock, Zephyr looks at him. "Welcome home. You look like Drin." The bot inclines his head. "Thank you. It is good to be back. While I do not know what Drin feels like, I have definitely felt better." He turns and heads for the bridge. When she turns to look at Maxim, she just shrugs. "A lot going on there." "Wonderful. Let's get to the bridge." Will turns as Gabe enters. "Welcome back, buddy. Glad you're safe and—" He looks at the droid's battle-damaged body. "Well, More or less sound. Thank you, Captain. This body is quite durable and able to take considerably more punishment than my previous frame. I will still require time at some point to make repairs. As if to punctuate the statement, sparks erupt from Gabe's right shoulder. Will nods. You and the ghost both. He smiles. By the way, that shuttle accelerated away, but sensors didn't pick up any life signs. You set up an autopilot? Any biological life signs, you mean? Gabe corrects. There were 11 liberated droids aboard. They have departed to begin their assignments. When Gabe doesn't elaborate, Will is about to press him, but at that point Maxim and Zephyr enter the bridge. Cynthia gets up from the tactical station and walks past Maxim. The big man pauses and puts his hand on her shoulder, nodding. Smiling, she takes her seat at the communications console. You sure you don't need the autodock now? Will asks, as Maxim gingerly lowers himself into his seat. I wanted to see this through first. Will nods and Bennie turns in his seat. So, what now? Will adjusts the controls slightly, bringing the ghost onto a course that will take them into the middle of the tremendously diminished group of behemoths. Now we say goodbye, is my guess. Farewells. The children offer their thanks, the Avatar says over the comms. How are they doing? I'm sorry there are so few left, Will says, looking at the main display screen, which is showing the 10 surviving behemoths. Is there anything we can do? The losses were severe, to be sure, but the children are pleased that they saved the souls of their captured kin. They will return to the sacred place. It will take many hundreds of cycles for the herd to rebuild itself, as they do not breed in large numbers. The children will remain in the nebula for some time. Do not be sad. For them, it will be but a brief period in their millennia-spanning lives. Will nods. I wish there were more we could do. You have done more than you know, Captain Calder. Gom-2 is pleased to have met you, and I hope to re-encounter you one day, perhaps under better circumstances. Will grins. Tell him I think he's pretty cool too. Bennie chimes in. So what happens to you now, Avatar? Now that the children will be returning to their safe space and staying there for thousands of years? I will return to Gom-2. Everyone is silent a moment, absorbing what the small construct just said. Then Bennie says, Why don't you come with us? Will looks over, one eyebrow raised. That is a kind offer, but this form is temporary and draws its essence from Gom-2. Leaving him would be impossible. Do not be sad. I have served the purpose I was created for. Still kinda sucks that you have to die, Bennie persists. I am not truly alive, not in the way you understand, the Avatar replies. On the screen, the massive living starships begin to move, forming the familiar spherical formation around their dead and injured, few as they are. Farewell, friends. Before anyone can answer, blue light begins to course around the bodies of the healthy creatures, and in a blink, they are gone. The bridge is silent as everyone processes what just happened. Then Bennie says, I'm hungry. Cynthia looks at the Braylac. How can you go from sad to hungry that quickly? Bennie shrugs and hops out of his seat. I'm complex and able to process more than one thing at a time. When you're in my line of work, you learn to never pass up a chance to eat. Maxim, with Zephyr's help, gets out of his seat. What line of work would that be? Hiding in a bunker, tapping on consoles? Bennie makes a noise. Rude. You may have forgotten, but it was my survival skills that saved you and Zephyr back on Fury when you came to my shop to get new idents. Zephyr laughs lightly, opening the bridge hatch for the Braylac. You mean it was your hidey hole and secret passages that saved us? Bennie heads down the main corridor from the bridge to the more substantial part of the ghost, making a dismissive gesture with a hand. Same thing. Zephyr looks at Will, then Cynthia, then finally Maxim, who is leaning on her shoulder for support. Okay, time for you to get to the medbay. The team grows once more. Maxim spends 2 days in the medbay, being patched up by the autodock. The damage to his thigh from the blaster bolt was more severe than anyone realized, and on top of that, his arm needs to be reset. During that time, Gabe has shut himself away in engineering, affecting his own repairs. Once Maxim and Gabe are able to move around, The crew sits down together for a meal. Okay, since this job was a bit of a bummer, I decided to treat you all to one of my all-time comfort foods, grilled cheese and red vines. Will slides a triangle of sandwich onto each plate at the table. I had to fudge a little on the cheese since I didn't have cheddar, but that marketplace we visited on Pyalt had something that, oddly enough, tastes the exact same, even though I think it's a plant. Cynthia leans forward and sniffs the plate. Looking up at Will, she asks, "Grilled cheese?" Bennie lifts the steaming sandwich and takes a massive bite out of it. Everyone watches him chew for a few beats. He swallows, then grins. "Good!" "There was doubt," Will says, sitting down with his own sandwich. Maxim reaches for his plate. "Have you forgotten the squeesh incident? It's quiche, and no, I still think you are all big babies." Zephyr picks up her own sandwich and takes a bite, nodding to Will. Around a mouthful of cheese substitute, she asks, "Hey, what happened to your Kel statuette? I didn't see it on your station when I was on the bridge earlier. That flobbin' Lorath break it?" Will glances at Maxim, who nods almost imperceptibly. "Yeah, she did. That bitch tossed it on the ground, shattering it." Zephyr growls, "We'll get you another." Bennie is wiggling a red vine, watching it move. "Aren't these the things you've had in your crate in the cargo hold?" Will smiles. "Cool. Yeah, thanks." He coughs, then continues, ignoring Bennie. "So the elephant in the room." Everyone at the table stops eating and looks around frantically. "It's an expression. Plus, do any of you even know what an elephant looks like?" "It's the black and white thing that eats the big grass," Bennie asserts. "That's a panda." "Oh, I know. The creature from the movie you showed us, with the loud scream," Maxim says. "Huh?" Will says, perplexed. "Jurassic Park," Zephyr offers. "Ah, that's the Tyrannosaurus Rex," Will replies. "But the elephant is not really the point, although Dumbo is next up on movie night. Now, the original, not that remake. But the expression means the big awkward thing we need to discuss." Bennie lights up. "Oh, you mean Cynthia." Will groans. Zephyr rests her palm on her face. "Smooth, little green," Cynthia says, putting her grilled cheese sandwich down. "Look, I'll make it easy. Drop me off on Fury, I'll be fine. I should be able to salvage some of Xarrix and Lorath's holdings before word gets out. Maybe find a nice planet to retire on." Not going to happen. It's Zephyr who says it, and everyone turns to her. She looks at everyone. "Close your mouth, Bennie. It's full of sandwich." Bennie snaps his mouth shut. She looks first at Cynthia, then Will. "Look, I'll be the first to admit, I wasn't a fan of Cynthia when she came aboard. I mean, she was sent to manage us after all. But we got to know each other aboard Gumtu. Plus, she stood up to Lorath and Xarrix and did the right thing." She smiles at the Tigran woman. "There's room on this ship for her if she's interested." Then she chuckles a bit. "Plus, I wouldn't mind a more feminine energy aboard the ship. It's a bit of a, what's the phrase Will uses? Sausage party." Will smiles. "Close enough." He looks around the table. "Anyone else have anything to say?" Maxim smiles and looks down at his companion. "Zephyr speaks for me on this." Bennie leers at the feline-featured woman. "I'm game." He waggles his eyebrowless brows. "Never going to happen, ever," Cynthia assures him. "Every star in the galaxy would have to explode at the same time for me to consider it. So I have a chance." As everyone laughs, Will looks over at Cynthia. "Welcome aboard." The end. This has been Space Rogues, Book 3, The Behemoth Job. Written by John Wilker. Performed by K.C. Johnston. Copyright 2019 by Rogue Publishing Ltd. Production copyright 2021 by Rogue Publishing Ltd.